and things are being thrown. There's no room for this in the sport.
I feel like he a solid fighter. He getting better, but like I said, he ranked maybe I'm #1 for sure, and he could be right under.
The boxing world is absolutely on fire right now after what just went down at the Jaron Ennis versus Xander Zayas press conference at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And nobody saw this coming because Terence Crawford himself showed up unannounced and completely interrupted the entire event before shoving Jaron Ennis in one of the most shocking moments of 2026. This is not a drill, and this is not exaggeration, because multiple eyewitnesses who were present at the April 8th press conference have confirmed that the retired pound-for-pound king Terence Crawford walked into that press conference specifically to support Xander Zayas and ended up getting into a physical confrontation with Jaron Boots Ennis that had security scrambling to separate them.
I know you don't particularly care for what Crawford says for the most part, but do you kind of feel like some of his critiques to you are I don't know, maybe hate a little bit? I know online he recently said that Fendora's the best guy at 154. He said Fendora would beat you. What do you like to thoughts on that?
I don't pay no mind though. None of that stuff be bothering me, but like I said, I'm the best at 154.
According to sources who were inside the Barclays Center, Crawford didn't just casually attend as a spectator, but allegedly came because he's been secretly training Xander Zayas behind the scenes to help the young Puerto Rican champion prepare for the biggest fight of his life against the most avoided man in boxing. The entire situation escalated so quickly that even Eddie Hearn and top-ranked president Todd DeBoef were caught completely off guard. And what started as a standard promotional press conference turned into absolute chaos the moment Crawford made his presence known.
Never heard of him. See, me and Boots in the same way. No.
For real.
Insiders claim that Crawford has been working with Zayas in private training sessions for weeks now, sharing the secrets and strategies that made him one of the greatest fighters of this generation. And his appearance at the press conference was meant to send a clear message to Ennis that he's backing the wrong horse in this fight.
And that's a tough fight, especially for Xander at this point in his career, but it shows his heart and his confidence, that he has in himself. And he's ready to go make history for his country. And he's going to do real well in that fight. I just think,
The June 27th fight between unified WBA and WBO, junior middleweight champion Xander Zayas, and challenger Jaron Boots Ennis is already being called one of the most dangerous fights either man has ever taken, with both undefeated fighters putting everything on the line. Zayas, at just 23 years old, became the youngest unified champion in boxing when he defeated Abbas Barao via split decision in Puerto Rico earlier this year. And the kid has been on an absolute tear through the 154-pound division. Meanwhile, Jaron Ennis has been terrorizing opponents for years with his devastating power and slick boxing skills, stopping 31 of his 35 opponents and carrying a reputation as the boogeyman that nobody wants to fight. Eddie Hearn himself admitted during the press conference that if he represented Xander Zayas, there is absolutely no way he would have let him take this fight because of how dangerous Boots Ennis is.
But this feels like Mayweather-Canelo all over again. This generational great who's going too early. But you have to give him his props. But this guy is different, and he will show how many more levels he's got. But he needs great fighters like Zayas to bring that out of him.
And I said,
this is where Terence Crawford allegedly enters the picture, because sources close to both camps suggest that Crawford reached out to Xander Zayas' team shortly after the fight was announced and offered to help prepare the young champion. According to insiders familiar with the training arrangement, Crawford has been flying to Florida where Zayas trains with his coach Javier Centeno and running specialized sparring sessions focused specifically on how to beat Jaron Ennis. Multiple people who claim to have knowledge of these private sessions say that Crawford has been teaching Zayas the exact blueprint he would have used if he ever fought Boots himself, breaking down every defensive vulnerability and offensive pattern that Ennis has shown throughout his career.
I'm growing, I'm getting better, I'm getting bigger. We keep controlling it. I have a great nutritionist team that work with me. The ones that work with Terence Crawford, Shakur Stevenson, so they know what they're doing. And I believe in them throughout my whole career.
The backstory here is absolutely crucial because Terence Crawford and Jaron Ennis have been linked to a potential super fight for years, with fans constantly calling for the matchup when both were dominating the welterweight division.
I just feel that Jaron Ennis against Terence Crawford is the fight. and that can be at 54, it can be at 60. You know, obviously we've got Lima to take care of first, but that for me is one of the great, you know, crossover fights, because Boots is the changing of the guard guy, and Crawford's the guy that's been there and done it all and just proved, you know, that he's still very...
Crawford retired on December 16, 2025, with a perfect 42-0 record after shockingly defeating Canelo Alvarez to capture yet another world title, and he walked away from boxing as arguably the greatest fighter of his generation. However, many boxing insiders believe that Crawford always viewed Jaron Ennis as unfinished business because they never got to settle who was truly the king of the welterweight division when both were in their prime.
Really don't know, because Terrence is just
somebody getting stopped.
I don't know. That
Crawford publicly stated after his retirement that he would not go back down to 154 pounds to fight Ennis, essentially closing the door on that super fight ever happening inside the ring.
Would you consider going back down to 154 and face Jaron Ennis, the guy who prepared Canelo Alvarez for this fight?
Nope. I ain't going down 154.
But according to sources with knowledge of Crawford's mindset, the legendary fighter allegedly sees training Xander Zayas to defeat Jaron Ennis as a way to prove his point without having to come out of retirement himself.
Sure, but you and Boots would be pretty good too.
Listen, I'm happily retired. Those was fights that, you know, could have happened when I was active, and I wish all those fighters good luck and much success.
Ryan Garcia recently made headlines by claiming that Jaron Boots Ennis would beat Terrence Crawford if they ever fought, saying that Crawford hasn't faced anybody as talented, young, and fast as Boots throughout his entire career. These comments allegedly irritated Crawford immensely because he spent his entire career chasing the biggest fights and the toughest opponents, only to have people question his legacy after retirement.
I'm not about what?
You don't want to fight.
You said I'm not about what?
You don't want to fight.
Man, go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Go ahead.
You dreaming, man. You talking in your dreams,
don't
man.
Want to fight. Yeah, we asked for that fight plenty of times, yo.
When?
Plenty of times.
What's plenty? When?
Multiple sources suggest that Crawford's decision to help train Xander Zayas is partially motivated by wanting to shut down all the talk about Jaron Ennis being on a different level than anyone Crawford ever faced. Eddie Hearn himself predicted back in January 2026 that Jaron Boots Ennis would replace Terrence Crawford as the pound-for-pound #1 fighter within 12 months, calling Boots the new Crawford and saying we just have to get him the right fights to prove it.
We've talked about Ennis against Crawford, right? What we can't do is diminish or disrespect what Terrence has done. I mean, a true generational great of the sport. But if anyone's going to beat him, I believe we've got the guy to beat him. Now, we need to build Ennis into a fight
That quote reportedly didn't sit well with Crawford either, as sources claim he believes Ennis has been protected throughout his career and hasn't truly proven himself against elite-level opposition the way Crawford did. Now here's where things get absolutely wild, because what happened at the April 8th press conference at the Barclays Center has completely changed the narrative around this fight.
What's going on? It's all good. It's all good.
I said, what's going on?
Stupid? You stupid? What's the issue with me?
I said what's going on.
I said what's up. I said what's up.
I said what's going on.
I said what's up. I said what's up.
All right.
Yeah, tell him.
According to multiple eyewitnesses who were present, the press conference was already heated with Jaron Ennis and Xander Zayas trading verbal shots back and forth about who would win on June 27th.
Ready for some action today? Get in his face. He said he's going to rip your heart out.
Oh, yeah. That's
That's what he said, didn't he?
That's what he said.
Yeah.
You believe that?
No, but he said it. You know what I mean?
I mean, you gotta say that.
He's a baby. He's a baby.
Ennis was talking about how Zayas is having a fat camp right now and claiming the young champion weighed around 190 pounds, suggesting that all the promotional work and media obligations would burn him out before fight night even arrives. Boots also brought up the fact that Zayas declined a proposed 55-45 purse split favoring the winner, framing that refusal as evidence that Xander isn't truly confident he can win this fight. Zayas fired back by saying that Ennis underestimates him and will pay for that mistake, pointing out that when they stood next to each other during the face-off, Zayas was clearly the bigger man and will be much bigger on fight night.
Prize now, Xander Zayas is listed at 5'10 with a 74-inch arm reach. Boots is listed at 5'10 with a 74-inch arm reach. But clearly, as you see here, Xander Zayas is much bigger than Jaron Ennis. And shouts out to Marco.
The two fighters went chest to chest during the stare-down, with Ennis repeatedly pointing his finger at the 23-year-old champion and closing the distance until officials had to step in and separate them. This is the moment when sources say Terence Crawford made his entrance into the press conference room, and the entire atmosphere immediately shifted from standard promotional tension to something much more serious. According to insiders who witnessed the incident, Crawford walked straight up to the stage area where Ennis and Zayas were still being held apart by security and promotional staff. Multiple sources claim that Crawford initially approached Xander Zayas and dapped him up in a show of support, making it crystal clear to everyone in the room that he was there backing the unified champion. Jaron Ennis reportedly looked shocked to see Crawford at the press conference and allegedly said something along the lines of asking what the retired champion was doing there since this wasn't his fight. This is where eyewitnesses say Crawford turned his attention directly to Boots Ennis and started speaking, though accounts differ on exactly what words were exchanged between the two. Some sources suggest Crawford told Ennis that he's been teaching Xander everything he needs to know to expose all of Boots' weaknesses, and that June 27th will be a rude awakening for the so-called boogeyman of boxing. Other insiders claim Crawford said something more personal about Ennis never stepping up to fight him when he had the chance, and now having to deal with his protege instead. Whatever was actually said, multiple witnesses agree that Jaron Ennis did not take kindly to Crawford's comments and started moving toward the retired champion in what appeared to be an aggressive manner.
Well, everybody know, because everybody was quote-unquote calling me the email champ. So, with that being said, I never was able to, fight a world champion or take a world title from somebody. I was given the belt out of my hands. That was out of my hands,
According to sources present at the scene, this is the exact moment when Terence Crawford allegedly shoved Jaron Ennis backward with both hands to create distance between them. Eyewitnesses describe the shove as firm and deliberate, rather than a full aggressive push, but it was definitely physical contact that crossed the line from verbal confrontation into something more serious. Security personnel and promotional staff immediately rushed in to separate Crawford and Ennis before the situation could escalate any further, with Eddie Hearn and members of both fighters' teams trying to restore order. The entire incident reportedly lasted less than 30 seconds from Crawford's entrance to the separation, but the damage was done, and the boxing world has been absolutely buzzing about it ever since. Video footage and photos from the press conference have been circulating on social media, though most of the major media outlets were focused on the Ennis-Zayas face-off and reportedly missed capturing the Crawford incident on camera. However, several reporters and fans who were present have confirmed on social media that Crawford was indeed at the press conference and that physical contact occurred between him and Jaron Ennis. One boxing journalist tweeted immediately after the incident that Crawford showing up to support Zayas and then getting into it with Boots was the most unexpected moment at any press conference this year. Another insider posted that the energy in the room completely changed when Crawford walked in and that you could feel the tension escalate instantly. The big question everyone is asking now is, what does this mean for the actual fight on June 27th between Jaron Ennis and Xander Zayas, and how does Crawford's involvement change the dynamic? Boxing analysts are debating whether having Terence Crawford in his corner as a secret weapon gives Xander Zayas a legitimate advantage, or if it's just promotional noise designed to sell more pay-per-view buys. Some experts point out that Crawford's defensive genius and ring IQ are exactly what Zayas needs to figure out how to neutralize Ennis's power and pressure. Crawford spent his entire career making elite fighters look ordinary by using superior footwork, timing, and shot selection, and if he can transfer even a fraction of that knowledge to Zayas, it could be a game changer. The fact that Crawford specifically refused to fight Jaron Ennis at 154 pounds after retiring suggests he knows exactly how dangerous Boots can be, which makes his willingness to train Zayas even more significant. Many believe Crawford wouldn't invest his time and reputation into helping Zayas unless he genuinely believes the young champion has the physical tools and mental makeup to pull off the upset. On the other hand, there are plenty of skeptics who think this is all just promotional theater designed to add an extra storyline to an already compelling fight. Jaron Ennis has been stopping elite-level opponents for years, and many experts believe he's simply too big, too strong, too fast, and too skilled for a 23-year-old Xander Zayas to handle, regardless of who's in his corner.
With head movement,
Boots gonna be doing all that head moving and sliding, tucking and moving on angles and shit. Boots, that's what Boots gonna attack his ass late. And Boots got power. He got major power, man.
Boots' father and trainer Jaron Ennis has stated publicly that his son operates on levels Zayas hasn't seen yet, and that confidence suggests they're not worried about Crawford's involvement.
It happened in boxing, man. You know what I mean? You only take one shot, you know what I mean? So you got to be careful, man. You got to be on at all times, man. Cylinders got to be working, man.
What kind of boots can we expect?
Eddie Hearn has been calling Jaron Boots Ennis the pound-for-pound #1 in weighting and predicting he'll prove it by running through the junior middleweight division starting with Zayas. The purse split controversy that Ennis brought up during the press conference adds another layer to this story because it shows the psychological warfare is already in full effect. By rejecting the 55-45 split to the winner, Zayas is essentially saying he doesn't need financial incentive to prove he's better than Boots, but Ennis is framing it as fear and lack of confidence. Zayas fired back by suggesting that maybe Ennis should have offered that same 55-45 split when he was supposed to fight Virgil Ortiz Jr., implying that Boots talks a big game but doesn't always back it up. The Ortiz fight falling apart due to promotional issues with Golden Boy Promotions is what opened the door for this Zayas matchup in the first place, and it's a sore subject for Ennis, who wanted that fight badly. Now, with Terence Crawford allegedly in Zayas' corner, providing world-class guidance and strategy, the stakes have been raised even higher for June 27th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Todd DeBoeuf from Top Rank called this fight a generational moment where two young, undefeated fighters are willing to risk everything in their primes, and Crawford's involvement only amplifies that narrative. The incident at the press conference where Crawford shoved Ennis has added a personal edge that wasn't there before, turning this from a sporting competition into something that feels more like a grudge match. Social media has absolutely exploded with reactions to the news, with fans picking sides and debating whether Crawford's presence will make a difference or if Boots is simply too much for Zayas to handle. One fan wrote that Crawford teaching Zayas is like having the cheat codes to the video game because nobody understands elite-level boxing better than Bud. Another commented that Ennis has been ducked his whole career, and now that someone finally stepped up, they're bringing in retired legends to help because they know Boots is that dangerous.